Hello and welcome everybody to this Azure Synapse Espresso. My name is Stijn and I am going to show you today something with delta tables and how to optimize them. Now, as you know, when you're working with delta tables and you have a lot of update, insert or merge operations that you're doing against that table, you will generate a lot of transaction log and you will also generate a lot of small files. Now, as you remember in previous videos, we talked about small files and the amount of files that it's not that optimal for your serverless SQL performance. Well, today I'm going to show you how to compact those files and how to create nicer files again using a command called optimize. Since November this year, there's a new Spark runtime which allows you to do that, which is called the optimize command. So you have a delta table and you just write optimize this delta table and it will actually compact those smaller files together to make sure that you get larger files which are better for performance when reading from them. Now, another cool thing that's inside this optimize command is called ZOrder Indexing, and ZOrder Indexing actually sort of indexes the data inside those files. Now, why is this very interesting? Let's say you have some queries where you're always going to have a where predicate in there. Let's say you've got your dates and you always want to filter on those dates. Using ZOrder Indexing, you will drastically decrease the amount of data that you're reading, which means that you're increasing the performance and you get better queries, faster moving queries due to this ZOrder Indexing of the optimize command. But what the impact is, let me show you that. So first of all, I'd like to show you that the prerequisites before you can actually use those optimize commands. So you need to be on the Apache Spark version 3.3 and you need to have Delta Lake 2.2, otherwise you are not able to execute these commands as optimize or ZOrder Indexing. Now, if you would like to use this, I've created a small notebook to showcase how that's done. So what you can do over here, so here I'm just loading in a Spark based table, which is taxi.mp, which is about 1.4 billion rows. Create a replace the temp view out of it, created a delta table out of it using that specific table. And this is my unoptimized data table. So I basically took a backup, put it somewhere else in storage, copied it there, and then I executed the optimize command. So what the optimize command does, it's basically going to look at that table. It's going to take all smaller files and try to compact those files together into larger files, which are better for your performance. Now, this is a one-off operation. Once you've done this and you do it a second time on the same data set, nothing will change, okay? Now, there's another thing here, which we can do. So I took a backup of that table as well. Over here, you see that you have the optimize command with the ZOrder indexing. So I'm going to ZOrder by pickup date, which means that if I'm going to execute any query using that pickup date, I should read less data and get a better performing query. Okay, now let's quickly head over to my storage account. So Azure Storage Explorer, one of my favorite tools. So if we go into that delta initial, you can see that I've got those three tables here. So if you look at the original one, you can see that we have a lot of smaller files. Not small, they're actually quite good, but if you're going to insert update a lot of data, you're going to see that it's going to be files of 1, 2, 3, 4 megabytes of data, which is not that optimal, okay? Now, once I've done that optimize, we get a different view. So if you go and look at that optimize command, so that was just optimized without ZOrder indexing, you can see it basically combined those files into larger files of about 1 gigabyte each, okay? So this is going to be better for performance. Why? Because it can actually go and read only one file instead it has to go and read 4 files, which means the listing of those files is going to be faster and it has more row groups in there, which it can skip on potential data, on potential queries that we're pushing in there. Now, if we're going to go back to that final one, so the one with ZOrder index, you can see that it basically looks a bit the same. So it's compacted, but the cool thing here that is the data is structured inside those row groups. Remember that video we did on a Parquet file with row group elimination where we structured that file on PU location ID. Now this one is actually structured on pickup date and it works the same. So if you want to go and know how that actually works and how you can explore those files, go and look at that previous video we did on row group elimination. Now, what is the impact on the queries that we're going to do? Now, let me head back over to my workspace here, and I'm going to do this script first. So as you can see here, this is on the original data, and I'm just going to select some fair amount, some fairest passenger count, where there's a specific pickup date. Now, what it will do, it will go and scan all those files and see if that pickup date is in there. It's not going to be in every file. So you can see that I've read about 500 megabytes of data, and it took me about 2 seconds to execute. So if you now look at that ZOrder index table, which is located at delta initial, and we're going to filter on that pickup date, what we see is that ZOrder indexing really drastically reduces the amount of data that we're reading. While previously we were reading about 500 megabytes, now we're only reading 146 megabytes, which is about 1 in 4. In some cases, we even get 1 in 5 reduction of the amount of data that we're reading. And as you know from the previous videos in this series, the less data that you read, the more the better performance you're getting and the less you pay. So mainly if you're using delta tables and you're using them and you know what your where predicates are going to be or what your group by or join predicates are going to be, it might be very interesting to set up an optimized command with ZOrder indexing after your loads to make sure that those files are optimized for your workload. And this will drastically increase the performance of your serverless SQL pool. And that concludes the video of today. Basically use optimize or ZOrder indexing when you know what your where predicates are, and also to compact those files to make sure that you don't have too many small files. As we've shown in the video of listing files and the impact of it, having more larger files will be better for your performance than loads of small files of 1, 2, 3 megabytes. Now, the ZOrder index is very important if you know what your where predicates are going to be, or if you know where you're going to filter on, because that can greatly enhance the performance of your queries and also reduce the amount of data that you're reading, which means that you spend less money to do the same queries that you would otherwise do. Now, as always, from the Synapse Espresso team, this is Stijn. If this is the first time you're visiting our channel and you would like to see more content of the Synapse Espresso, we've got other series going on here as well. Please hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, just give us a big thumbs up. And thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.